Welcome to the family here on Purple Mafia. I am your host, Paladino Joey, or Joey Awijan. Purple Mafia is available on all of your favorite podcasting apps. I thank each and every one of you once and always for downloading and listening to this show. It is a great pleasure once again to be back aboard with you. Once again today, Minnesota Vikings hosted the Detroit Lions in U.S. Bank Stadium in a battle for first place because of, well, no matter who won this game, they're going to wind up in first place because of the whole tiebreaker deal. That's just how it is in sports. Unfortunately, the team going home is in first place, and the team at home is now in second. The Minnesota Vikings lose a spine tingler, 31-29, to the frickin' Detroit Lions. Now I just hope the other 5-0 team loses today, as it's the Sea of Red. It's a rematch of the Super Bowl. It would be the third time if these two teams meet up in the Super Bowl. Hopefully, finally, the third time's the charm, and the 49ers get the job done. But yeah, the Chiefs are, I don't even know what I'm saying here. But yeah, I believe the Chiefs are up 3-0. It's not important. Nope, San Francisco's up 3-0. Again, who cares? It's like, yeah, 3-0. Oh, that'll get it done. Though an extra 3 points or so would have been nice. Definitely not Will Reichert, though. Not Will Reichert missing anything. He's still perfect. Knock on wood. I mean, it's just like the Vikings weren't going to be 17-0. Yeah, well, whatever. Well, he certainly didn't cost us the game. In fact, he was arguably the best player in a lot of ways. Aaron Jones did play, and he was pretty good for the most part. But Darnold and the Vikings offense stuttered a bit. The Vikings defense stuttered a bit as well. Jared Goff was almost perfect. It's just great. 25 attempts, 22 completions. Jahmyr Gibbs just ran right through us time and time again, averaging 7.5 a carry. The 45 long is not like it took his Jahmyr Gibbs' average up. It's not about that. It just felt like Tecmo Bowl football again. You know how I use that term time and time again. Even though David Montgomery, it felt like he was better than he was, but he did get hurt in the game and did return. I suppose it was more some of those receiving plays. Yeah, you know, those screen plays, 3 catches, 39 yards, 19 long, 13 average. He did lose a fumble in the game, did David Montgomery, which gave the Vikings a chance. Unfortunately, it just wasn't enough. Jahmyr Gibbs, yeah, just ran right through the Vikings for a 45-yarder, and then also ran up the gut much later in the game in a point which put the Lions way ahead again. It's just extreme frustration. The Vikings offense woke up a bit in the second half after giving up 21 points. After the Vikings in general gave up 21 points in the second quarter. First quarter, it felt like the Vikings were going to be in control of this game, and it's like, wow, it's just like all the other games. The Vikings are going to be in control. Hope is that we can actually hang on to the lead for the most part. Maybe it'll get close and get dramatic, but the Vikings will get the job done like they have. Darnold with a clutch drive, defense making big plays. Darnold did have some clutch moments in the game, but not ultimately at the end of the day. And the defense had some clutch moments, but not ultimately at the end of the day. The final drive was very disappointing on both sides of the ball. That's why Detroit ended up winning the football game at the end of the day. Now that I've said that 15 times. Sam Darnold, statistically on paper, all that cute stuff was okay. You know, it was actually pretty good. He was accurate for a long time. In fact, he was perfect for a while. 22 of 27. He completed the same amount of passes and had just 2 more attempts. 259 yards, but there was that awful play, the interception, the old grape jelly stain. But this was more than a grape jelly stain. It was a bloodbath of an interception. It was a terrible play. It was awful. It was a blue screen of death. It was Kirk Cousins reincarnated as Sam Darnold, but at least he doesn't cost you $35 to $38 to $48 million. At least he doesn't count against the cap that much, which might not be the worst thing ever to re-sign the guy as a potential backup or spot starter, depending on how things go with JJ McCarthy next year. But games like this and moments like today, the frustrations and such, and even going back into the Jets game, Darnold has not been all that great for a while. In fact, his last touchdown pass was in the first half against the Green Bay Packers. Can you believe it? That 28-0 first half lead versus the Packers all those weeks ago when I actually last swam in a lake. Can you believe that? I went into the lake for a minute here before. Much, much, much colder. I just put my ankles in. It was much colder, but not important. Just telling you how things change so quickly, not only with Darnold, but with the temperature of the water out there, even though it's a very warm, unseasonably warm day. Okay, not enough of my weather report. But yeah, Darnold ever since, it took him that long to finally throw a touchdown pass. which was to Justin Jefferson. 7 catches, 81 yards total in the game. Jefferson was pretty spectacular for the most part. Naylor had a ball bounce off his hands. Disappointing. Other than that, he caught 4 out of the 5 targets for 76 yards. Pretty good game by Naylor. Addison had the huge play, which we thought the Vikings would have a chance to do something. Ultimately, only wound up with a field goal. 51-yard play from Sam Darnold, kind of like a moment like, we're getting back in this game, and we did, but ultimately did not get the job done. Even with the huge fumble and the run back into the end zone, the scoop and score by our guy, you know that guy, you know what I mean, you know who I'm talking about. I'm just kidding. Ivan Pace Jr. with a scoop and score, who also had 10 tackles and a sack in the game. Great game. Andrew Van Ginkel also had a couple of sacks. So good performances by individuals. But generally speaking, it felt like the run defense, the tackling was awful. And I don't know, the secondary might need some depth going into the trade deadline coming up here as we head towards Election Day. Yes, Election Day is the trade deadline. Yeah, Election Day is the trade deadline. Okay, well, yeah, we'll get off of that immediately. Jonathan Bullard with multiple pass deflections in the game. Shaq Griffin, well, he denied the ball, generally speaking. That's why he only had 1 tackle. So generally good performance by Shaq Griffin. Harrison Phillips thought he had a fumble recovery. It sure looked like it to me, but the referees decided no, that it was not. Also, it felt like there was a penalty every other frickin' play in this frickin' game, in the first half especially, where it was like 1:45 when the second half started because of all the damn stoppages of play. It was just ridiculous. Like I always joke about the fall leaves coming down, all those yellow flags. It's like all those silver maple or elm tree leaves coming down outside. Because silver maples and elm trees are yellow. They're not purple. They're not red and beautiful like maple trees. But anyhow, certain maple trees, sugar and red, and out in blaze. Anyhow, I'm going on down way too many rabbit holes here. Ivan Pace Jr., great overall game, I'd have to say. Again, 2 sacks by Andrew Van Ginkel, who's one of the MVPs of the team. Jonathan Grenard with one of the biggest sacks, in fact, the biggest sack of the game, which helped pin back Jared Goff. It's just, again, unfortunately, there was too much time left on the clock. Generally speaking, it wasn't over yet, as the Lions would have another opportunity, and they made the most of their opportunity, and ran the clock down to a point the Vikings would only have a couple seconds left to try to make 2 plays, and ultimately it wasn't meant to be. Jack Fox. No, not Jack Fox. That's the punter. He had a 63-yard one. We also had 1 touchback. Whoops. What am I looking at? Bates. That's who it was. The 44-yarder that won the game ultimately for the Detroit Lions football team. The Detroit Lions, or the Lions of Detroit. I don't know. 3 field goals made by Will Reichert, including a 57-yarder, a 48-yarder, and a 41-yarder. 2 extra points. 11 points overall. Nice fantasy pickup this past week when the Dallas kicker was on the bye. I couldn't believe what I saw when Will Reichert was a free agent. I'm like, he's a free agent? Okay, I sign him now. And yeah, so that was lucky. I don't know if the fantasy team's winning, but unfortunately the real team didn't at the end of the day. The Detroit defense was beatable, but at the same time, that pass rush was a thing to behold as well. A sack by Josh Pascal, Malcolm Rodriguez, Jack Campbell, just like Dan Campbell. No, I don't know. Trevor Nowaski, also a sack. 4 sacks for the Detroit football team. Minnesota Vikings had, because the Lions, that's offensive now. You can't say Lions, it's offensive. So they're the Detroit football team. I'm offended, man. It's terrible. Sorry. Yeah. How dare you? Okay. I got to get off of it now. But 4 sacks by the Vikings as well. Pace, Grenard, and then 2 for Andrew Van Ginkel. Okay, sorry. Mr. Pick 6, AVG. AVG, the Angry Video Game. Nerd. Anyhow, Aaron Jones did play in the game. He was outstanding, to be quite fair. 14 rushes. Vikings were behind, so you could only run so much. So no Cam Akers running the ball, but Cam Akers was in there to return the ball. So that was kind of cool for the most part. Good for him. Kick returns 2 for Cam Akers. That's right, Cam Akers is a kick returner, and I think that's a good thing. 26 average, 52. He got 26 twice. Nice job, Cam. And he'll be wearing number 27, which I guess was the first ever first ever African American quarterback also wore number 27. So that's interesting in the NFL. Yeah, so that was interesting. I'm not sure if that's why he wore it. There was no announcement to that, but I just thought that was ironic. That's quite possible because the top 31 not available at the moment. So Cam Akers wearing 27. Interesting. And very happy to have Cam Akers back with the Minnesota Vikings. That was announced this past week. Put a smile on my face, to be quite honest. I didn't know he was going to be available necessarily, but I guess he was. Joe Mixon returning healthy, and the Vikings traded for Cam Akers, especially with the possibility of, the oft-injured Aaron Jones. When he's available, he's one of the best running backs in the league, and we're blessed to have Sam Jones on the Minnesota Vikings. Heck of a lot better than the other 33 would be right now. And they're like the same age, aren't they? Interesting. But Cam Akers, yes, depth addition to the Minnesota Vikings. Ty Chandler only rushed the ball twice for 4 measly yards. Four. Justin Jefferson ran for 3 yards on a play when he was going to have the passing attempt. There were multiple predictions in this game by just people on Twitter and such. Some people, I believe Dan Cole, the common man on KFAN, talked about Dan Campbell's going to fake a punt. I thought that was going to happen. I really did when the Vikings pinned the Lions and they had to punt the ball. The Vikings got a nice big stop. I believe that was on the Grenard sack during that drive. I thought, here comes the fake punt, but nope, it didn't happen. But there was the Justin Jefferson pass attempt play. It was going to be a pass to Sam Darnold that did not work out. Justin Jefferson was able to pick up 3 yards on the play spectacularly, rather than try to force something stupid or lose like 8 yards and possibly get injured. And sometimes those trick plays, funky, weird, stupid things happen. I mean, Jerry Rice had a season-ending injury, I remember years ago, on a play like that. It was like, oh my God, it was like a terrible knee injury. Devastating. Or maybe it wasn't knee, maybe it wasn't out for the season, maybe it was an MCL. But regardless, it was like, what are you doing? You're going to try to hand the ball off to Jerry Rice, and next thing you know, it was a knee injury on the actual play. So, sorry for going down memory lane there. It was kind of depressing, but the 49ers are flashing on the screen right now. I hate the Chiefs. Anyhow, Kareem Hunt, again, they forgave him and brought him back after, was it a domestic incident years ago? They cut him, wound up with Cleveland and stuff. All that, and all these years later, back with the Chiefs. Kareem is in the hunt. Oh, well, what am I saying? Amon St. Brown, some big plays. Jared Goff with some gutsy, cold-blooded plays. Amon St. Brown was one of the big ones that kind of put the Detroit Lions in field goal range. And the other touchdown that was insanely frustrating. But Jahmyr Gibbs, yeah, I mean, you have him on your fantasy team. You're dancing. Amon Ross St. Brown, he's probably your top receiver as well, like J-Jets you would hope would be. On every fantasy team he's on, he's got to be the number one guy. Jalen Naylor might be one of those sneaky picks in a deep league. Why not? 4 catches, 76 yards. Jordan Addison should be in everybody's, every fantasy league should have Jordan Addison on a roster. I'd be shocked if he isn't, unless it's a real tiny league. Heck, Cam Akers was on somebody's team just recently. I believe I played against the guy a couple of weeks ago when the Vikings went up against the Houston Texans. Cam Akers was on their lineup and was starting in the game. He was one of the 3 running backs, I believe. It was 2 running backs, and then there's that wide receiver running back option. I think Akers was in there somewhere, but it was ironic. And Akers did score a touchdown in that game, so, well, he did. It was a screenplay, but he did. Happy to have Cam Akers on Minnesota for so many reasons, because you're not 100% sure with the health of Aaron Jones. And Ty Chandler's, I don't know, he's not as good as he was last year, that's for sure. So I don't know if teams are solving him or whatever it is. And he's not as good of a blocker as you'd like. Or Jones is an outstanding blocker, and Akers can offer something there. And Akers is at the end of the day, if not for the 2 Achilles injuries, he's absolutely a starting running back, maybe even a Pro Bowl level one. He certainly was expected to be that kind of a guy. And he had some good seasons for the most part with the Los Angeles Rams. It put a smile on my face when I saw Cam Akers to Minnesota a couple of days ago, when it felt like a miniature trade deadline. where lots of players were getting moved all over the place. So not sure the Vikings are going to make any crazy move for the Giants defensive linemen. I don't think the Vikings are going that direction because it probably cost a little too much, like maybe multiple first-round picks. I don't think we're heading in that direction. You're going to want to use those first-round picks for, obviously depth, cornerbacks, maybe that end up being shut-down guys, maybe another defensive lineman, whatever. But obviously the free agent class by Kwesi, though, is so damn good that you feel you do have depth all over the place. But Stephon Gilmore's not going to be here forever. That's just a fact. So you're going to need somebody. And yes, you do have Blackman coming back, but it's not 1,000% guarantee with an ACL that he's going to be as good. And, of course, the other young man that died in the car accident. I mean, how many more losses can you have at the cornerback position before it's like, okay, it is what it is. I mean, that's why we took Kyrie Jackson in the draft, because we needed depth at the cornerback position, and the guy could have possibly even been a starter. And then something terrible happened on July the 5th. I mean, yeah, I know. I'm sorry to keep bringing that up, but obviously it's a very sad story. So, yeah, sorry for smacking my lips. I wonder if the guy from North Carolina still listens to the show. I hope I didn't annoy him too much with the lip smacking. I think it's a lot more annoying when people are eating and you smack your lips. I think that's absolutely disgusting, and I hate it. I absolutely hate it. Well, just kind of talking and you're kind of in a thought and just tick, I don't know. I hope it doesn't annoy you too much, and I'm not doing it on purpose. I swear. I don't like to annoy people intentionally. I'm not one of those kind of people. So there, I almost did it again. See? It's just a stupid habit, that's all. Great second half overall. Very entertaining football in the second half. The second quarter was enough to make you just want to walk outside and enjoy the weather. Just enjoy the weather. Thank God for technology. Thank God for technology when it comes to either iHeartRadio if you want to listen to Paul Allen, and of course the NFL app if you want to watch the game live, which of course you probably do. But listening to Paul Allen is pretty good for the most part. Pete Bursich, I think I like him even more than Paul Allen. I love Pete Bursich. You can tell I'm smiling. I love that man. I just love that. Oh, come on. Are you kidding me? I just love that kind of stuff. Like, come on, guys. What kind of stupid penalty was that? I love that kind of color commentator. So I like Pete Bursich even more than PA. I'm saying it here on Purple Mafia. So Pete Bursich, I salute you. Just in case 1 in a million chance you're listening, or 1 in 10,000 chance, whatever the percentage is. Yeah, we'll talk about Deshaun Watson later. I'm sure they're celebrating actually in Cleveland. It'd be mean, but it's still, yeah. Well, I mean, what more can you say? Seriously, what can you say? Is he the answer at quarterback? I don't think so. I don't. Sam Darnold, is he the answer at cornerback? No, probably not. It's games like this, and I was leading into this point several minutes ago, and then I just blanked out and went on to something else because I babble too much sometimes about random stuff. Sam Darnold, the last 2 games at the very least, that's what it was, the whole Packer touchdown thing, the 28-0 lead by the Kareem Hunt with another touchdown, unless I'm seeing some replay. Kareem Hunt did get another touchdown. See, there it is, I'm distracted. Sam Darnold played against the Jets and against the Detroit Lions, generally speaking, even though the accuracy was kind of there. Still, just the mediocrity of Sam Darnold in this game, and the mediocrity to below average performance of Sam Darnold versus the Jets makes you wish so much that there was number 9 on the sidelines, healthy and ready to go, even when the time came. And then maybe he could take the wheel of this Ferrari and see where it goes. You just kind of wish that was an option, but unfortunately it's not. You look over at the sidelines, God bless him, bless his heart. He gives that effort. He really does. But Nick Mullins, no, definitely not definitely not the answer. He has a skill level that does exist, but you talk about blue screen of death and weird stuff with Sam Darnold. It's even worse with Nick Mullins, even though there is definite talent there. He's got that Favre-like, swashbuckling gunslinger thing. deal. But he's that crazy gunslinger that might accidentally shoot his, might accidentally shoot his sister in the foot. Whoopsie! I didn't mean to do that. I am really sorry. Whoopsies! Whoops! Or like some civilian or something like, hey, what were you thinking, you idiot? That kind of gunslinger. Got the skill level to be special sometimes, but then the next minute or two, it's like, what the bloody hell was that? Like the Detroit game last year. The Vikings had all the chance in the world to win that game. I mean, he threw for 1 billion yards. Justin Jefferson was spectacular. But then he threw for like 4 or 5 interceptions. It was horse something. It was classic whatever. Classic crazy backup quarterback horse crap. That's what it was. And the Vikings lost. So, am I babbling? Yes, I am. Was Jared Goff really good? Yes. Jared Goff looks more and more like the quarterback that the Rams took in the first, with the first overall pick in the draft years ago. And a lot of people saw the Rams and the Chiefs going into multiple Super Bowls against each other, and it would have been epic and spectacular and da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Well, the Chiefs have gone to several Super Bowls. The Rams have been to a couple. They won one and they lost one. Jared Goff was not there when they won. He was there when they lost against the Patriots, who shut him down pretty badly. Him being Jared Goff, of course. Detroit's chances of going to the Super Bowl, I think, are outstanding. In fact, I would label them exactly the way I labeled them at the beginning of the year, especially after today's game. Like you want to say, bless their heart, so to speak. As much as you hate their guts after a game like this, you just hate them. I mean, just hate them. But Detroit is the best team in the NFC. At least as of right now, they are the number 1 team in the NFC. The Minnesota Vikings are probably number 2 because we lost only by 2 points. But what's really sucky about all of this is the fact that the Vikings lost this game at home. The chances of the Vikings winning in Detroit later in the season are, I don't know, they're not the best. In fact, I don't know, it's been quite a while since the Vikings have won in Detroit. It certainly hasn't happened in the Dan Campbell era. So, in fact, pretty much ever since that game, the spectacular comeback in Detroit, when Jared Goff and co. led a winless, pathetic, embarrassing Detroit team down the field to a victory, that was the beginning of this Detroit Lions era of, being a legitimate contender. That was the beginning of it all. Even though they weren't a contender that year, it was still a completely different vibe after that. They just started horribly that year, and, well, ever since, they have climbed a bit out of there. Kind of like San Francisco in 1979 into 1980 and blah, 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 when all of a sudden it became a hell of a different vibe way back in the day. Unfortunately, I wasn't there to see it live, but, you saw the big comeback they had in 1980. It was the birth of the team of the 80s. I love that team. I love the 49ers. Just not against us, but generally speaking, I love the 49ers, especially against the Chiefs. But, yes, I love those red uniforms, those gold helmets. Just screams 80s dominance. Great era of football. I mean, the Vikings were not that far away from being one of the best teams in the 80s. It's a damn shame how it all kind of, I don't know, just didn't work out, basically. There was so much talent on the Vikings in the mid-80s into the late 80s, 86, 87. But you had the Bears in the early half of the 80s, and, well, most of the 80s, the mid-80s. And then the Niners, of course, were what they were. Redskins, Giants. Yep, they were just these other big boys out there. Bummer. And here we are still waiting all these years later when all those franchises have trophies in their trophy case. It's frustrating, isn't it? Sure is. Let's see if Detroit, they have a trophy case, but it's in the 50s and beyond, because pre-Super Bowl era. Great franchise in the old days, but not for many years. Yeah, Detroit to me is the best team in the NFC at the moment. Minnesota Vikings, obviously, this is not a season killer, but it certainly doesn't help at all. You lose the tiebreaker right now, and the chances of winning in Detroit later in the year are not real high. If the Vikings can overcome and get that job done and win the division still, it'd be pretty impressive. In fact, it'd be insanely impressive. And I think all of us would be insanely confident going into the playoffs if that were to take place. So we'll see how that ultimately winds up. But we definitely have a wonderful, incredible kicker. It's an absolute blessing to have Will Reichert on this franchise. It's a blessing to have the depth and just outstanding linebackers we have with Andrew Van Ginkel, Jonathan Grenard, who's like defensive end, but like a linebacker with his 3-4 deal. Ivan Pace Jr. had an amazing day. Again, the scoop and score, the sack, and all that. So amazing overall effort by the defense to get this team back where it needed to be, and a few clutch plays by the offense as well with Sam Darnold, which shows that he probably is a starting quarterback in this league. But is he like a franchise savior? I don't think so. What you're hoping for that when you take him number 3 overall in the draft. The Jets were absolutely hoping that, and unfortunately that plane landed years ago, and went to North Carolina and San Francisco and all that. So anyhow, and now with the Minnesota Vikings, hoping for something great. So this is going to be a short week off. You get the bye, but then you jump back to Los Angeles to play the Rams, which is not going to be particularly easy. Shouldn't be the hardest game ever, but that defense is tough. And obviously Sam Bradford? What am I talking about? The other guy. You know, the other one. Matthew Stafford. There is no Sam. Like, what am I talking about? Matthew Stafford, of course, who definitely had been a thorn in the Vikings side at times, as Detroit was pretty competitive at times with Stafford at quarterback, though they didn't win a playoff game, but gave the Vikings a hell of a time often with his mobility and his clutch play. So we'll see how it goes with the Rams. They're off to an awful start, but they almost had Detroit last year. They almost had them in the first round, and who knows how far that Rams team could have gone. No, what's his name? No, not Darnold, but Donald. Aaron Donald. I'm getting all these D's and stuff mixed up. And Sam this and this guy that. It's confusing. So my apologies. Cam Akers going against his former club again, basically. So, yes, we'll see how all this turns out at the end of the day. But that's for segment number 2. This one, we'll pass out the awards. The Fran Tarkington Award is going to go to 2 players, one on offense, one on defense. The kicker is Will Reichert. Big Leg Bill is the Fran Tarkington Award offensively. But I think the overall Fran Tarkington Award is going to go to Ivan Pace Jr. He wasn't perfect in the game. He had some great, but he did have some great moments. And, the 10 tackles is definitely nothing to sneeze at. It certainly did not help not having Blake Cashman out there. I think that's part of the reasons why the tackling was so horrendous. And Detroit is an incredibly good running team. They timed their passes well. Obviously, Goff to the receivers and all that. Great receivers and all that. But and half of the passes end up going to the running game anyway, which is kind of funny. But, yeah, they ran the ball so well against the Vikings today. Cashman would have been a help. Him being out was not good. Ivan Pace Jr. did a great job, though, especially in the second half. So Pace Jr. is your Fran Tarkington Award winner for this episode. The Christian Ponder Memorial for this episode, I don't know. I think it might be like Brennan Ingram. He did not have a good overall game today. He struggled. Absolutely, yeah. He generally struggled, and I think other people are hoping to get Dalton Reisner in there at the guard position to possibly replace Ingram, at least for now. Maybe it's just one of those things where it's just not working out. So Ingram is going to bring that home. The Detroit defense without Hutchinson, of course, with the devastating compound fracture in the leg. Devastating injury for him, as that happened in between. Yeah, that happened in that massive Dallas Cowboys blowout by the Detroit Lions. Massive blowout. But a compound fracture to the leg of Aiden Hutchinson. Definitely devastating, but still that Detroit defense and that pass rush was there. It was there. And the Vikings offensive line did not get the job done. Vikings pass rush was not real good against Detroit, even though they were missing their starting guard as well, Pro Bowl level guard. So that was extremely disappointing, the way the Vikings lost in the trenches today. Massively disappointing. So there's your thoughts. With that, we'll take a quick break, well, a long break, I guess, and generally speaking, and return to talk about the Los Angeles Rams. It's quick, though. It's a quick break. Los Angeles Rams coming up on Thursday. And, of course, look around the league and talk about this and talk about that. And we are back here on Purple Mafia, segment number 2. Time to look around the league a little bit and, of course, preview the Los Angeles Rams coming up. So that should be a very interesting deal. They were, Detroit Lions definitely had epic battles with them the last year, basically, twice. Once in the wild card round, they had a very close game, and, of course, the season opener as well. So Sunday Night Football, that would be flashing on the screen in the next couple seconds. Pittsburgh Steelers and New York Jets, and then tomorrow the Bucs are hosting the Baltimore Ravens, pretty good one, as well as Arizona hosting the Los Angeles Chargers. So those are definitely interesting matchups for sure. The Jets are not on the screen at the moment. It's a different New York team, the Minnesota Lynx, playing against the New York Liberty. Now, I'm not a huge WNBA fan. I have nothing really against it. I'm just not a huge, gigantic fan of it. But this is the champion. This is the, like the Game 7, basically. It's best of 5 WNBA Finals. Minnesota Lynx versus New York Liberty. So I'm taking liberty of watching this game because it's, winner take all. So, it's a little different situation there. Anyhow, Thursday night, the Denver Broncos visited New Orleans. Remember the team that blew teams out the first 2 weeks of the season? The Saints have not done jack squat since. In fact, they've lost 5 in a row. They've been awful. Poor Dennis Allen, crappy for him, I'm sure. He's a good coach, and he's a good guy and everything, probably a better guy than a coach. Defensive coordinator, and you know how that tends to be the thing. A lot of these defensive coaches end up not being the best head coaches, these defensive coordinators and such. Denver, Sean Payton beating his understudy badly, because that's even more so going on here. Sean Payton's Denver Broncos somehow are 4-3. It was a 33-10 butt kicking heading back into New Orleans for Sean Payton. Yuck. So, not fun. But great game for Denver, though. All the credit in the world. Bo Nix, in a game where the Denver Broncos scored 33 points, attempted 26 passes, completed 16 of them, 164 yards. No touchdowns, no interceptions. Just meh at best. Though he did run for, him being Bo Nix, for 75 yards on the ground. Javonte Williams ran for 88 yards and got in the end zone twice on 14 carries. Pretty impressive at the end of the day. Denver defense also did a good job. Will Lutz, the former New Orleans Saints, 4 field goals, made them all, and made all of his extra points. A 52-yard field goal was his long in the game. Denver defense definitely had their moments, sack after sack after sack. The New Orleans quarterbacks, Spencer Rattler, he was another one of those draft picks floating around. People were talking about him basically after Bo Nix. Like, say, go to JJ McCarthy, so on and so forth. Michael Penix, those kind of guys. And then you get to Bo Nix and Spencer Rattler, guys like that. So the Saints wound up with Spencer Rattler. Nothing too impressive to brag about there. 35 attempts, 5 completions, Jake Haener attempted 4 passes, completed 3 of them, and did throw a touchdown pass at the end of the day, too. Cedric Wilson Jr. rolls right off your tongue. But one way or another, the New Orleans Saints got their butts kicked. They got to Bo Nix 0 times, 0 sacks in the game. It was a 33-10 win. Let's move on. The Saints are falling off the face of the earth, unfortunately for them, as are the New England Patriots. Jacksonville Jaguars, Doug Peterson coaching for his life at this point. Patriots dropped to 1-6, and it's a rookie coach and linebacker, defensive coordinator type of guy. Really good linebacker for the Patriots before, so he should be safe for a while, at least I would hope, especially with the fact that team is very diminished. Other than Drake May is a pretty nice, young, promising quarterback. A lot of us saw that guy, Trevor Lawrence, as a promising quarterback as well. Only 20 attempts in the game. Tank Bigsby ran the ball 118 yards, 4.5 a carry on 26 rushes for 2 touchdowns. Great for fantasy, I'm sure. Drake May, though, pretty good for fantasy, too. Not bad. A lot of people thought he would have a sucky week. 37 attempts, 26 completions, 2 touchdowns, and no turnovers. No interceptions, anyway. No, he did not lose a fumble. Great performance by Drake May, generally speaking, but the Jaguars put the whoop-ass on the New England Patriots, 32-16. The Jaguars stay alive so slightly. Now they're now 2-6. The Patriots dropped to 2-5. The Patriots dropped to 1-6. I don't know why I'm clicking on the same game twice. Why would I do that? Falcons hosting the Seahawks. The Birds versus the Birds. The Dirty Birds versus the Legion of Doom, or whatever the hell they used to be. I don't care about that crappy nonsense. I hated that team. Oh, yeah, but I hate everything. I'm just a hater, right? 34-14. Who do you think won the game? Seattle? Yeah, Seattle won the game. Yikes. Well, the Lynx are up by 9 after the first quarter. That's encouraging. This is in New York. Hopefully hopefully the Minnesota Lynx continue to play well. Michael Penix debuted, 1 attempt, 14 yards. So we'll see how that turns out. Kirk Cousins threw for 2 interceptions in a very disappointing performance overall by the Atlanta frickin' Falcons. Beyond Robinson with a touchdown rushing, pardon me. Kyle Pitts, who's a really nice tight end for wherever. Kenneth Walker, the third for Seattle, got in the end zone. And Geno Smith threw for 2 of them, 207 yards. Kirk Cousins, 2 interceptions with 1 touchdown, 232 yards and 35 attempts. Atlanta got smoked for the most part. They didn't provide all that much pass rush on Geno Smith either, with only 1 sack. Seattle had 4 sacks. No, just 3 sacks on Kirk Cousins. At the end of the day, and the Falcons sucked hardcore. They dropped to 4-3. Seattle goes up to 4-3, which does mean Seattle would have the tiebreaker on Les Falcons. So, Buffalo hosting the Tennessee Titans. Who do you think won this one? Gee, I could never tell you. Just no idea. This would have been a great playoff game if it was the Houston Oilers back in the day. I don't want to think about that. I was cheering for the Oilers in that game. Yeah, Oilers are up by 32. I mean, everything's fine. Come on, Oilers are up by 32. I mean, come on. It's not like the Bills are going to make the greatest comeback in NFL history or anything. Yeah, famous last words. Just like the Vikings aren't going to make the greatest comeback in NFL history or anything. So I'll put the game on silent and work on my Jaws game review for the Video Game Flashback podcast. But I'd have the game on silent, watching it the entire time I was doing the game review, because it was an easy game to review. It was just Jaws for NES. That's pretty easy. Check it out if you feel like it. But I just finished Castlevania 2, actually. That's probably more interesting than Jaws for the NES. Yeah, famous last words. It's like the second time that happened where I was like, forget it. So that game's over. And then it's like the score kept getting better and better and better. The Viking game I was watching much more intently than, say, Buffalo and Houston back in the day. But, okay, sorry, this triggered back a really, really old memory. What am I hearing? I'm hearing a dog going absolutely nuts. Like as if it's getting brutally murdered by Michael Myers or something. What's going on here? What's going on? Now, it's scary enough when you hear a squirrel getting killed by like a raccoon or something. That is some scary sound. Again, Michael Myers and squirrel. Who do you think's going to win that one? I don't know. Maybe the squirrel. Mason Rudolph, the former Pittsburgh Steeler. That's like the squirrel, and then the Bills are the whatever, like a bear or something. Oh, they're bison, I suppose. Josh Allen threw for 2 touchdowns and did not have a fumble or an interception. Congratulations, Josh. The former Wyoming Cowboy. 33 attempts and 21 completions, 323 yards. Ray Davis ran the ball in the end zone, as did James Cook, who didn't run all too great, less than 3 yards a carry. It was 3 yards in a cloud of dust. But the Bills win comfortably over the Tennessee Midgets, 34-10. They got absolutely trampled by the Buffalo Bills. I mean, what's a better way to say it? Feels always like, oh my God, the Buffalo coach is in trouble this year. Oh boy, is this going to be his last year as head coach? And then look at him now, 5-2. So go Bills. It'll be nice to see them do something. Maybe it'll be them instead of Cincinnati making that playoff run and getting past the cursed Chiefs once and for all. Somebody's got to beat those bastards. I can't stand them. I hate them. I remember the Pittsburgh Penguins in '93. I was thinking this earlier today. Looked like absolutely unbeatable. Like everybody's like, Penguins are going to win the Stanley Cup. They're going to three-peat, which never happens in hockey. So we'll see what happens with that. Sorry about this. Something I was curious about that I wanted to know, though, at the end of the day, is who dethroned the Penguins, because they did not three-peat. They were dethroned in the '93 postseason in the Stanley Cup playoffs. It was the New York Islanders. Crazy, the New York Islanders, and I was like, they made the postseason by like the skin of their teeth. New York Islanders took out the Penguins in in 7 games. So that would have been a win in Pittsburgh for sure. Pittsburgh had the best record in the entire NHL. Crazy. I guess the Islanders were the number 3 seed out of that group because you know how divisions were kind of all connected. I guess they do that in hockey again. They stopped doing that and they brought it back again. Yay. Montreal would go on to win the Stanley Cup as the Canadiens would beat the Islanders pretty easily. So who is going to be the New York Islanders of the NFL here? A team that was a miniature dynasty for a while. Well, they won 4 cups in a row at the beginning of the 80s. So who's going to be that team that's going to dethrone the Pittsburgh, what are they called? Kansas City Chiefs. Has to be somebody that was good maybe 10 years in the past or something. I don't know. Maybe I'll have an educated guess here. Maybe it is Buffalo. Certainly more than 10 years in the past. Cleveland Browns hosting the Cincinnati Bengals. Cleveland Browns dropped to 1-6. Of course they lost, even though Cincinnati is just average. They're just average at best, and I'm so disappointed in them. God, they're just average at best. They're just lame. Ugh. They won by a touchdown versus this crap. The Cleveland Brown bags. Come on, man. Deshaun Watson had an Achilles tendon injury. Dorian Thompson-Robinson entered the game and threw 2 interceptions. Spectacular. Jameis Winston entered the game and threw less than 50% accuracy, 5 of 11. And did throw a touchdown pass. So 3rd time's a charm. Jameis Winston should be the quarterback, I guess, for now. Because Dorian Thompson-Robinson, he's a 3rd-string quarterback. That's what he is. He's not good. Deshaun Watson was actually playing really well, ironically. Did not throw a touchdown, but 15 of 17 is pretty good, considering how bad he's stunk for the Cleveland Brown bags. He's the biggest brown bag of them all when it comes to all that. But he had an Achilles tear, and Deshaun Watson owed a lot of money and stuff, and, well, that's the end of Deshaun Watson. Yeah, that's the end of Deshaun Watson. I don't know. I don't know what else to say. Still going to have the money on his contract. Still probably going to have to be back next year. But Cleveland hopefully can maneuver things the way they're going to have to. Get the number 1 overall pick in the draft or get close to it. Take a really exciting rookie quarterback, a top-end rookie quarterback. And, well, at least you'll have him on the rookie scale. So that's the only strategy the Cleveland can have looking towards the future because Deshaun Watson ain't it. And everybody knows it. Yeah, I don't know. Nick Chubb did run the ball in the end zone. Good for him. Joe Burrow did throw over 2 touchdowns. Good for him as well. T. Higgins with 82 yards and 4 catches. Ja'Marr Chase with 55 yards and 5 catches. Both of them would have a receiving touchdown from the guy named Joe Burrow. Chase Brown was mediocre at best. Again, at least the Brown bags have good defense for the most part, as the Cincinnati tiny little Bobcats got the job done versus the Brown bags. So both of these teams are extremely, extremely disappointing as far as I'm concerned. I had Cincinnati winning the Super Bowl. Yeah, I mean, Cleveland you thought of as at least like a potential good playoff team that could maybe make some noise. But they stink. And I mean, they stink like bad. They suck. They suck hard. Okay, Green Bay hosted Houston. That'll be later. Los Angeles Rams hosted the Vegas Raiders. That'll be the last one. The Colts versus the Miami Dolphins. Another garbage bowl. Somehow the Indianapolis Colts, the same team that just is just like a bottom feeder in the NFL, pardon me. If they could just make a damn shot. Excuse me. Sorry, at least they're up by 8. 16-10. The Colts beat the Dolphins because the Dolphins have basically Dorian Thompson at quarterback. Okay, Tyler Huntley's a little better. He's okay. Wasn't he quarterback of the Packers for a minute? And then also of the Baltimore Ravens, I believe. So anyhow, Anthony Richardson, I don't know what's going on. 1 minute he looks like there's something there, and the next minute he looks like, boy, I'm glad the Vikings didn't trade up to get him. Oh boy, I am glad the Vikings didn't trade up to get him. Oh my. Tyler Huntley threw for a touchdown. Anthony Richardson didn't throw the ball away. He didn't throw an interception, but he did lose another fumble. Oh my gosh. Oof. 10 of 24. That is putrid. Awful. I mean, who could watch this crap? Tyler Huntley's got to be the most, probably the most dynamic player of the group. And it's Tyler Huntley. He's a legitimate backup. That's all he is. Devon Akane was okay too, though. So credit to him. 77 yards on 15 rushes. Did not get in the end zone. Whereas Raheem Mostert, not the famous music, not the famous classical music writer, but composer, excuse me. But I know it's spelled different anyway. Mustard. He did lose a fumble. I know his name has been brought up in like trade conversation, but well, we wound up with Cam Akers instead, which is totally fine. I don't know what to say. Miami, I don't know. What a disaster. 1 catch for 8 yards for Tyreek Hill. He must be, ain't going to be doing no peace signs, is he? No peace signs for him. I don't know. What a nasty vibe. Like Miami's one of those kind of places where it's either really good or really bad, it seems like. And now it's really bad because of, well, a certain guy can't stay healthy. And I don't know. I'm not going to make any smart-ass comment about that. Not worth it. Eagles host the Giants. Giants looked fairly competitive last week. This week they did not look competitive. The Philadelphia Eagles look like a team that's a little more serious now, as they hadn't been for a little minute here. In fact, they looked downright terrible at times last year, and they looked downright terrible at the beginning of this season as well. And their coach is not real popular with a whole lot of anybody. I think he's a decent coach, but obviously the personality is, I don't know, it's questionable. 28-3 Eagles. Jalen Hurts finally a somewhat respectable performance. This is a guy that was absolutely an MVP conversation and deserved it. He's just kind of a mediocre guy now. 14 attempts, 10 completions, and a touchdown. Yay. I mean, that's like Daniel Jones. I mean, is Daniel Jones wearing green and with wings on his helmet? Oh, he's the other guy with the NY. It's that one. Yeah, 21 of 14, like nice accuracy. Yeah, 99 yards. 99 yards. 99. Wow. Like, wow. Anyhow, Saquon Barkley, though. That's a little different. And I'm spelling it T-H-O. I don't know. I can't spell. I'm not spelling anything T-H-O. Nope, I'm not doing it that way. I'm spelling it the legitimate way you spell though. Anyhow, though, yeah, okay, anyhow. 176 yards on the ground, 10.4 a carry, 55 long, a touchdown, and Jalen Hurts ran the ball in twice. So, good fantasy numbers for Jalen Hurts despite being a mediocre guy. Just mediocre. Definitely not the dominant player he was a couple years ago when this team should have won the Super Bowl, but didn't, because they just didn't. Darius Slay Jr. sounds very familiar. Couple of pass deflections. Good for him. Neither quarterback throwing INTs, like I said. Dexter Lawrence, that's who it was, the elite defensive end for the New York Giants, who could be involved in a trade, possibly, if the Giants want to move on so badly. But I think a lot of us are completely. But I think a lot of us are thinking, well, I think the Giants, I should say, are in a mode of like, why not just keep them? Just, like, why? Why would you trade him away when eventually this team's going to turn around? I don't think it's going to take so long that Dexter Lawrence will be 35 years old or anything. Why would you trade away your franchise player? So, yeah, he's still pretty young. He did get multiple sacks in the game, and good for him. Multiple sacks for Nakobe Dean of Philadelphia. Multiple sacks for Jalen Carter of Philadelphia. Multiple pass deflections for Darius Slay Jr. So good for him. Yeah. Eagles dominate the Giants, and the Nephilim get absolutely brought to justice by the Philadelphia Eagles. Yeah, the Nephilim, the New York Nephilim Giants were, I don't know. Their heads were cut off. There. I guess that's kind of the conversation. Washington versus Carolina. 40-7. That means, are you ready? That means Jaden Daniels had the greatest game ever, right? No, he didn't. He had a rib injury. You son of a... Oh, I was cursing my head off. Because who was my starting quarterback today? Jaden Daniels. Yeah, he was named my starting quarterback weeks ago. 2 pass attempts for 6 yards. You son of a... well, at least he ran for 50 yards, though. He had a 46-yard long. And he has a frickin' rib injury. Well, Marcus Mariota, 23 attempts, 18 completions, 2 touchdowns. A great game for Marcus Mariota, the Oregon Duck. Remember him? Brian Robinson Jr. is actually on my fantasy team. I have multiple Commanders. That's crazy. 6 yards a carry, 71 total, and a touchdown. I don't even think Robinson was in the game, though. Well, I had Saquon Barkley too, though, so I can't complain too much. You son of a... Oh, I'm so mad. Oh, I was furious when I saw that. It's like, of course that's what happened. 40-7, whatever. Carolina's terrible. And as Patrick Royce might say, I'm just imagining with his voice, not necessarily that he would say this, but I'm imagining him saying it. Forget, would you please, ideas of getting back Adam Thielen. Just stop it, okay? What's he going to do for us right now? Adam Thielen, I don't know. Well, maybe they should. I'm going to make fun of everybody I don't agree with. Okay, anyhow. Rematch of the Super Bowl and the same stinking result. Not as close as the last time where it looked like San Francisco maybe had it. But then there was, what's his name? You know, that guy, Patrick Mahomes, laying on the ground after throwing a game-ending touchdown pass. Much to my absolute chagrin. Ugh, I'm still seething over that. Yes, it went in. All right, my favorite girl there, Nafisha Collier. Yes. Wow, much better game than she had last time. Man, oh man. Up by 12 with just under 3 minutes left in the half. Good. Anyhow, hopefully it's the Lynx winning a championship here. This is the Super Bowl of the WNBA, literally. Like, this is our Super Bowl. So at least we win in something here in Minnesota. Like, we actually win championships. It's women's basketball, but it's something, yes. Anyhow, 28-18 victory by the Yuck City Chefs. They're the last remaining undefeated team because the Vikings couldn't finish the job versus the Detroit Monsters. The Detroit Lions sucks. 28-18, the San Francisco 49ers. Where am I talking about? 76ers. 49ers in those gorgeous uniforms. The best uniforms, arguably, of all time. And there was a time I saw the Chiefs as a great uniform, and they are. I just don't like the team. I like the color scheme. It's like the Atlanta Hawks in the NBA. It's gorgeous. I like red and yellow together with white. I think it's gorgeous. I just don't like the damn team. 49ers, you get red, gold, and white. And it's one of the coolest, classiest franchises in the history of professional sports. At least I would like to believe that. Especially in the 1980s and into the early 90s. Oh, man, I love that team. It's too bad. It's too bad. I mean, they haven't won a Super Bowl since 94. 30 years already. A 30-year drought for the 49ers. You know, when Steve Young was gallivanting around that field, holding that trophy. You remember that? Those of you that are old enough to remember? Who'd have thought we'd be sitting here 30 years later and they're 3-4, mediocre record, disappointing. Haven't won a Super Bowl since, but they've lost 2. No, 3. They've lost 3. They've been to 3 and lost them all. They went from 4-0 to 4-3 in the Super Bowl. Can you believe that nonsense? Sounds like my fantasy team pretty much was the same thing, just dynasty level. And then I got to multiple Super Bowls after that and lost them all. Yeah, well, that's why I stepped away. It was like, time to go. What the heck? Both quarterbacks sucked big time, but the running backs stepped up. You know, Brock Purdy, actually, the running backs didn't really step up that great for San Francisco. Was Brock Purdy getting into the end zone twice, completing drives that way. But Patrick Mahomes, multiple interceptions. He also ran the ball in for a touchdown. So making up for not the greatest game ever in both Brock Purdy and in Mahomes' case. Purdy threw 3 interceptions against this Chiefs defense, who's very stingy and tough to go against. 31 attempts, 17 completions, 3 interceptions, no touchdowns. Quarterback rating of 36.7. Patrick Mahomes, quarterback rating of 44.4. And they still beat the 49ers. Who'd have thunk you'd see Patrick Mahomes with 100... And, you know, he's had a lot of weak games this year. You know, that's the funny part about all this. Patrick Mahomes has had a lot of mediocre games kind of like this. Not this bad. More like 1 touchdown, 1 interception or something like that. Just kind of mediocre, just like Justin Herbert. Like, he threw for, 157 yards and a touchdown. Well, that's great. That's so amazing. Oh, my God. That's kind of like every quarterback right now. You know? It's like every week. And then you have games like this where Purdy looks like, I'm trying to even think of like somebody like, I don't know, McLeod Bethel Thompson or something out there. I don't know. Maybe Bethel Thompson would probably do better. I'm just making up a name. What the devil is this? Jordan Mason, 4 yards a carry, 58 yards. Okay. Not bad. Kareem Hunt, the former Kansas City Chief who was let go for some domestic dispute thing. going on. And wound up with the Cleveland Browns and was decent off and on. And now he's back to the Chiefs, and he ran 2 touchdowns today, 78 yards on the ground. Impressive. The Chiefs are 6-0. They're the last remaining undefeated team in the National Football League. How many sacks did the Chiefs have? 1. Just 1 by George Karlaftis. Okay, yeah, I know that name. George Karlaftis. Rolls right off your tongue, baby. Ugh. Man, I don't know. Sucks to see San Francisco 3-4. And it sucks even more to see the Chiefs doing as well as they are. Raise your hand if you're sick of the Chiefs. Hand is raised. Anyhow, Steelers lead 3-0 over the New York Jets. This is not a live show anyway, but it's what the hell. I'm just talking, I guess. So Detroit played the Minnesota Vikings today, so that was one of the division games. And Detroit's in sole possession of first place despite the same record. They have the tiebreaker because they beat the Vikings. Duh, right? Green Bay Slackers hosting the Houston Texans. Oh, man. Like, the Texans are going to get the job done today, right? Come on. Houston's better than Green Bay. Oh, come on. Houston also lost by 2 points today. So now Green Bay's breathing down our neck. Though we do have the tiebreaker at the moment, and we beat them in their house. So that's pretty good. Joe Mixon is back. That's why a guy by the name of Cam Akers is wearing purple now and returning kicks. Okay, he's returning kicks. C.J. Stroud threw for, well, let's see. He attempted 21 passes, right? How many yards do you think he got? C.J. Stroud against the Green Bay defense. How many yards do you think he got? 86. 10 completions, 86. No interceptions or anything. Didn't lose a fumble. 86. Joe Mixon, though, on 25 rushes, 115 yards, 4.5 a carry, 2 touchdowns for Joe Mixon, who is the same age as Dalvin Cook. That's right, the same age as Dalvin Cook, and he was off injured just like Dalvin Cook. And there he is. Look at him. Where's Dalvin Cook? Anyone? Dalvin? Hello? I don't see him. I have no idea. Anyhow, Josh Jacobs, 76 yards on the ground and only 12 rushes. Jordan Love threw for 3 touchdowns and 2 INTs in the game. Neither quarterback was super spectacular, but Love was certainly better between the two. And Mixon was the better running back, but at the end of the day, the Green Bay Packers get the job done versus Houston. Game-winning drive. A drive that got the Packers into field goal range. Houston took a 1-point lead. This sounds very familiar, like the Vikings kind of sort of like the Viking game here. Houston took a 1-point lead, in our case 2, and we blew the 2-point conversion, which was pathetic and lame to watch. Couldn't believe how lame that was. And then Brandon McManus, 45-yarder. Green Bay getting down very close. Well, kind of close, 26-yard line, 45-yard kick. Green Bay Slackers escape. A pretty close game. And they're still very much alive in the NFC North, not the Central, the North. Green Bay Packers live on to see another day. Packers have 5 wins. Vikings have 5 wins. Detroit has 5 wins. Chicago has 4 wins and is on the bye. And, pretty good division, huh? Like the Bears might make the playoffs. And the Bears, Caleb Williams definitely looks like a different guy than he was against the Houston Texans on Sunday Night Football a few weeks ago, about a month ago now. He looked pretty average, but that's called a rookie player who stepped up and has done a hell of a job since. So good job to the guy named Caleb Williams coming around. Looking impressive. Looking like a great rookie now. Los Angeles Rams. What the hell are they? Well, they're the LA Rams, and they played the Las Vegas Raiders. Great matchup. Great. Well, it might have been good in the 80s. Might have. The Rams were fairly competitive. The Raiders were pretty competitive when they were in Los Angeles. Most of the time the Raiders were in LA, they were pretty competitive except the last few days. And by the time they got to Oakland, they were very average, and they stayed average for quite a while. Jumped up a little bit in the Rich Gannon era. And that was a fun team to watch. Tim Brown was still around. You got Jerry Rice added. They went to the Super Bowl and got trounced by the Bucs. That sucked. Yeah, that was a bummer. I wanted the Raiders big time. Screw the Bucs. I can't believe that rimmed out. That would have been huge. I almost dropped an F-bomb. Anyhow, God, that would have been big. Of course, on the other side they score. F you. Anyhow, that's kind of what kind of sports fan I am. I hate seeing that garbage. So annoying. Stafford with an interception, so that's who we're going up against. He's definitely had some interesting matchups against the Vikings over the years. Again, his mobility was really annoying at times to deal with. Really, really annoying to deal with. The Vikings would have him at like 3rd and 12, and he'd run for like 15 yards. It'd just drive you nuts. No doubt about that. No doubt about that. Sorry, I'm just seeing something weird. Gardner Minshew was absolutely pathetic. The Rams defense is pretty good. 3 interceptions, 34 attempts, 154 yards, 21 quarterback rating. Minshew sucked. The other O'Connell, Aiden O'Connell of the Raiders, was also, well, it's just average at best versus the Oakland Raiders, versus the LA Rams, who were still in the game. Alexander Madison somehow ran for 92 yards against the Rams, which tells me, well, Cam Akers and, of course, Aaron Jones, you might want them in there. You might want to run against them. Looks like the Rams' run defense is not as good as their pass defense, who definitely put on a big butt kicking against these mediocre quarterbacks of the Las Vegas Raiders. Kyren Williams is not. Man, I hate what's happening here right before the half. What the flip? Oh, and I hate that stupid guy. Spike Lee, shut the up. I hate that dude. God, I hate him. Kyren Williams, 76 yards, 2 touchdowns, and so on and so forth. So, yes, Kyren Williams is one of the better running backs in the NFL. I don't like what's happening here, man. They're falling apart right in front of my eyes. Of course they are. It's Minnesota. Stafford interception. Sorry, I'm ranting here. Okay, well, that's the end of that. Good. Sorry. Anyhow, let's look at the Rams overall. Why do I care about what they did against the Raiders? The Raiders are pathetic. Kyren Williams, though, is definitely one of the better running backs in the NFL. Definitely one of the great ones. Matthew Stafford is, I don't know, he's not having that great of a season, is he? I don't think he's anything special. He's thrown for 3 touchdowns all season. He's been freaking horrible, to be honest. He sucks. He threw no touchdown today either. So he's got 3 touchdowns and 4 interceptions on the year, him being Matthew Stafford. Still has, about 1,400 yards on the season. Quarterback rating is hovering in the mid to lower 80s. That's not the Matthew Stafford we remember. I think it's time for him to move on. The Tampa, Florida native, apparently. For some reason, I thought he was from Alabama. I don't know why. He played in Georgia, but yeah, he's from Florida. 1988. Yeah, he's getting up there. Hard to believe somebody from 88 is 36 years old already, but that's a fact. He was quite a menace against the Vikings for years when he was with the Detroit Lions. Some of those great seasons, 2012 and such. He actually wasn't that good that year, but the team was decent. 2014 Rams had some great years. 2011 is when Stafford had some incredible numbers, but the team was kind of meh. And of course, Stafford's first year with the Rams, he was off the charts good, 41 touchdowns. But he does have that grape jelly effect. He'll throw interceptions and such. He has lost 28 fumbles apparently over the course of his career. But generally speaking, yeah, he's lost 2 already this year. Man, he's not been real good, Stafford. Should be a winnable game. Stafford is not the guy we remember. He is definitely past his prime, 36, and he looks like he's older than 36. Kirk Cousins is like the same age, isn't he? Yeah, you're signing him to like $1 billion, Atlanta. Stupid move, Atlanta. Stupid. Who's left in the receiving position? As they've had guys hurt. There's no Cooper Kupp, and of course the Akua, was it? Yeah, the really nice rookie last year. He's been out forever. Obviously, Aaron Donald is retired. The Rams aren't that good. The Vikings need to take care of business. 2-4 on the year, a nice win for them, I guess. They were 1-4 to start the season. They beat the pathetic Las Vegas Raiders. This was in Los Angeles in SoFi Stadium, and they were mediocre at best. 20-15 is nothing to brag about. So I think the Vikings absolutely should be able to beat the Los Angeles Rams. I'm just not that impressed. Obviously, the running back is really good. I like what he can do. Scares the crap out of me sometimes. This is Thursday, yes, in SoFi Stadium. 5-1 Minnesota versus 2-4 Rams. Both teams did play this week, so it's not like the Rams are coming off a break. 7:15 Central Standard, or Central Daylight Time, not Standard. Yeah. Well, it's on Amazon, so get your Amazon app ready to go. Though it will be covered locally, I'm sure. Myles Gaskin, coach's decision, so on and so forth. Brett Ripien, yeah. Cooper Kupp was questionable coming into this one. Tutu Atwell's had some good moments. Yeah. These matchups, though, I don't think this is all updated after today's stats, but I don't know. Vikings passing yards, Vikings are 30th, giving up a ton of passing yards. Rushing yards were number 2. That's what pisses me off. We had the best run defense, second best run defense in football coming into today's game, and I feel like Detroit just ran all over us, baby. Pretty freaking dumb. Pretty frustrating. The Rams give up a ton of points, though. They tell you they went up against like pathetic Raiders offense. It's not been pretty since they the last few years in Oakland and into Las Vegas. Gardner Minshew was just pathetic. Obviously, the Rams' defense is not too bad, though. They can be a pain in the ass, but they do give up almost 28 points a game, so it's really nothing to brag about. Total yards are 28th. Passing yards against 18th. So, yeah, their pass defense is a little better, definitely. Their run defense is flipping horrible. They're the worst run defense in the National Football League. So, yeah, get ready to run the ball, guys. 32nd. They give up almost 160 yards a game. 160 yards a game. That is horse crap. So take advantage of that, Minnesota. Got to have the running game going. Let's look at the history. I'll try not to babble too much here, though it's been a fairly rich history with this club. Minnesota Vikings lead the all-time series 27-18. The last playoff game between these two, the Vikings lost in the second round in 1999, leading at halftime. And then it was all St. Louis Rams after that. So some interesting thing that the first ever game, the Los Angeles Rams, I believe they might have had white helmets back then, which is kind of cool. 31-17 victory for LA. Otherwise, there were back and forth winning streaks and losing streaks, but in the 70s, the Vikings beat the Rams very often. Multiple NFC Championship games with the Rams. The Vikings are 2-0 in those versus the Rams. 74 and 76, the Vikings beat the Rams to get to the Super Bowl, only to lose to Pittsburgh Steelers and what were they called? The Pittsburgh Steelers and the Los Angeles Rams, the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Oakland Raiders, respectively. The Vikings beat the Cowboys in the 73 NFC title game to go to the Super Bowl versus the Miami Dolphins. Yep. The Vikings did not win that game either. The Vikings did go to back-to-back Super Bowls, only to lose them both. Yeah, it's just wonderful, isn't it? What's this weird-looking squiggly thing? That is a Western Conference Championship. So yeah, so it's another one. So the Vikings beat the Rams 23-20 to get to the Super Bowl versus the Kansas City Chiefs in '69. Super Bowl number 4, Vikings were favored by 18 and got obliterated 24-7. I mean, so more and more reason to hate the Chiefs. No doubt about that. So 3 conference championship games versus the Rams. That's amazing. 3-0 by Minnesota. Unfortunately, didn't mean a whole lot. The Rams would get their... the Vikings won again in '77. That was a regular playoff game. Divisional playoff game. So that put the Vikings in 77 to get to the conference final, only to lose that year. I believe this was to Cowboys, I think. And then 78 again. Somehow that Viking team with Kramer got to the... No, that was Tarkenton. He was just a really old Tarkenton. Vikings got whooped by the Rams. The Rams finally got the revenge. Finally beat the Vikings in a playoff game. A divisional round game. Rams in 78, 34-10. Reality set in on an aging old Vikings team on New Year's Eve in 1978. And then 1988, what was that one? Yeah, wild card game. The Vikings won comfortably 28-17 in the Metro Dome, I do believe, yes. And then in 2000, yeah, that was a terrible one. Because 2000, that's when the playoffs would move into January and all that before the Super Bowl. Yeah, Vikings were up at halftime, ended up losing 49-37. Not the worst performance by the Vikings, but certainly not the best. The defense was embarrassing. The offense was exciting for a while with Jeff George and all them, but ultimately the Rams would knock the Vikings out and go on to win their first Super Bowl, and the only one in St. Louis. That was the St. Louis Rams. One other interesting stat that I do want to bring up. 1992, the Vikings beat the Los Angeles Rams, who were pretty crappy at the time, in that cool classic building, the classic old Coliseum where the LA Rams played. So cool, and it was so cool that it was still there. It was this team when they moved back to LA, and they wore those old uniforms. Oh, it made me so excited. Coolest thing ever. Okay, anyhow, the Vikings won 31-17 over a pretty weak Rams team. At the time, who was in rebuilding mode after making a couple of conference championship runs in the 80s. Losing, though, unfortunately. Okay, so that was the last time the Vikings had played the Los Angeles Rams. They moved to St. Louis. The Vikings would play them in 98, all those years later. A 38-31 back-and-forth crazy game with Tony Banks at quarterback. Had Red McCombs, like, hyperventilating. He was furious. Like, what the hell happened here? This team sucks. And the Vikings are, like, letting them back in the game. Yeah, it was annoying. Tony Banks, yeah, there was no Kurt Warner or any of them there yet. But when you looked along that roster, it was a really good team. They just didn't have the best quarterback. Like, Banks was adequate, but he was disappointing for what he was supposed to be. And then Kurt Warner comes out of nowhere from from a grocery store in Iowa. Obviously, he could play quarterback, but had kind of given up or whatever. And then the rest was history. Yeah. But, yeah. Yep, that's when the Rams moved around the same time as the Oakland Raiders. Or, excuse me, Los Angeles Raiders, now that they've been in 3 different cities. Moved 3 times? Gosh, that's crazy. Moved from Oakland to L.A. L.A. back to Oakland, and then Oakland to Las Vegas. Just weird. The Raiders are the weirdest team. They're the Sacramento Kings of the NFL. The Rams moved from moved from L.A. to St. Louis, and moved from St. Louis back to L.A. Weird. So, yes, last time we played, the Vikings win. No, that's wrong. Last time we played, the Vikings did not win. The last time the Vikings beat the Rams was in 2017. Yeah, really good game. Really, that was a fun one. Jahmyr McKinnon, all that. He had a pretty good day. The Vikings defense was absolutely stellar, absolutely unbelievable against a pretty good Rams offense. That was back when the Zimmer defense was looked at as the best in the world. Best third down defense. We stifled that team, kept them to only 7 yards. Amazing. 24-7. That's the last time the Vikings beat the Rams. Since then, we've lost 38-31 and 30-23, respectively. Most recently in 21. A terrible Vikings team going up against a pretty good LA Rams team at the time. Yeah. No, were they good? I think they were improving. They weren't that good, from what I remember. I think Jared Goff is the quarterback. So nope, that is Matthew Stafford. Okay, yeah. This is the year they won the Super Bowl. Yeah, Stafford actually had an awful game. 3 interceptions, but the Rams still ended up winning because Cousins was below average or was mediocre at best. Vikings lost, whatever. So that's the history. Otherwise, like I was saying, the running game, I mean, that's the way to go. Take advantage of, Aaron Jones. Hopefully he's healthy going into the next game. Cam Akers, Ty Chandler, maybe go with the whole committee approach if you can. Obviously, well, not really. Obviously, Aaron Jones is your main guy. But, I mean, you can probably have a little bit of a committee, like give the other guys a shot as well, because you don't want to overuse Aaron Jones in a game. But you could have some technical football here. Of course, you're going to pass the ball, but Sam Darnold's been disappointing lately. And if your run game can work against the worst run defense in the NFL, why not take advantage of it? Vikings win. The Vikings get back on track. Final score is going to be fairly high. Vikings score 34. The Vikings 34 points against the Rams. They're going to come out and beat them pretty good. 34-21 victory for the Minnesota Vikings over the Los Angeles Rams. In SoFi, Vikings beat the Rams. Multiple interceptions on Stafford. Possibly knock him out of the game. Not with injury, but just performance. And the Vikings, because I don't want anybody getting hurt. I'm sick of injuries. Vikings win 34-21 over the LA Rams. The Rams do muster something, but the Vikings muster more and get the win and go to 6-1. And we'll go from there. With that, we'll take a quick break and return with fan interaction. And we are back here on Purple Mafia segment number 3, fan interaction segment, where we get to hear from all of you out there. All 3 of you. No, I'm just kidding. That's about what it feels like today. I don't know what happened. Maybe people were too busy just watching the game. I don't know, but very little interaction. Maybe it's my own fault for not being a little more, I don't know, pumping things up. I don't know, and I apologize if that's the case. Yeah, Instagram, Purple Mafia Show, nothing. That's a bummer. So Facebook page, nothing. I don't know what happened this week. I don't know. I'm not sure, but there is action on Twitter, thankfully. Thank you. At Purple Mafia Show on Twitter. I don't know what happened on Facebook, and Instagram's been quiet generally since Facebook came back, but today there was nothing on Facebook either. Man, they are letting them back in. Ugh, very frustrating. Anyhow, Mad Martin says, it came mighty close yesterday to me thinking I'm going to have to take my first call of the year. So that means it's coming, right? Hopefully, and I can't wait to hear the call. It's just too bad it has to be under, circumstances like this. It came, yeah. First call of the year. Thankfully, Flo's D did B-Flow, did its job, and Rodgers was a shadow of the player we all know. But it's another W, and they have a fortnight to steady the ship offensively. Yep, that's like the 2 weeks. Yep, the fortnight. It's an interesting word. Man, this is just a nightmare. I'm not liking what I'm seeing. God, I just hate to see this kind of thing. Stupid. Anyhow, you could just totally imagine them favoring the other team. Of course, it's New York. Bastards. Man Martin, what does that imply about Jones's health? This would be the trade for Cam Akers. And where's the response? I know I responded. Absolutely, I know I did. Okay. I responded. This is so stupid. Frick you, Twitter. I'm ready to curse. But, okay, what does it imply about Jones's health? Well, he's certainly not the most reliable person. That's the thing. He was more reliable today than I ever thought. I didn't think he was even going to play today. Hey, you thought maybe he'll play for the Rams, or yeah, he'll play against the Rams. But at the end of the day, here we are. 93 yards in the ground, and the Vikings still end up losing the game, which is ridiculously frustrating considering how things went. Mad Martin says, it's concerning as we go deeper into the season without him. The O was not firing on all cylinders, that's for sure. Yeah, I was saying definitely not 100% confidence in what he's going to be around, that he's going to be around all the time. I was saying that about Aaron Jones. I don't trust anybody that's soft injured. Okay, I guess I shared it. It's kind of weird how I did that. So, yeah. Man Martin was saying solid start. And then he continued saying, it'll be interesting to see how this team responds to playing from behind, because they had to play from behind after that 10-0 start. Things changed so quickly. I was saying kind of scary to tell the truth. Thank you once again, Minnesota. Oh, is it a lot of... Oh, were you here? Dang it. You were here, weren't you? Look at you. Oh, man. I hope you had a good time, Dave. I really did. That must have been pretty cool, huh? That must have been nice. Too bad it didn't work out, though, unfortunately. Matt Martin says, let's be honest. The last 8 quarters of offensive football has been poor, to say the least. I'm like, oh, yeah. I was saying the bad habits are rearing their ugly heads. They certainly were. Yeah, this has been a horrible half on both sides of the ball. Yeah. Yep, that was Vikings in the second. Yeah, basically the first half. It was really bad. The first quarter looked promising for a minute, and then it all kind of went down the bleeper. Man Martin says, what it shows us is that Detroit are a real contender. Yeah, yep, Detroit Lions are a real contender. He continues saying he's from Northern Scotland, if I didn't mention. They need to punch, this would be the Vikings need to punch back to start the third. If you don't complete the comeback, so be it. But you need to show some fight on both sides of the ball and make this close. No doubt. Dave Hickey says, I think other than that pick that Sam threw, he's played okay. We need a big stop here. Yep. Dave was saying, we just got a big turnover for a touchdown, only to be up by 1. We need a big stop. Miss, fudged. Yep, then the kicker made it. Yep. I understand. That's beyond frustrating. Ed Martin was saying up by a point, I'll take it. Yeah, when things were so happy for a moment. Yeah. Ed Martin continuing saying, as if we lose by 2 points, so be it. The big win will be picking up 0 injuries and coming back. Yeah, if we lose by 2 points, so be it. Yeah, we ended up, yeah. The big win will be picking up 0 injuries and coming back to lead this late. Lots of positives. You thought Detroit was going to miss the kick, and I wish he did. And, of course, they didn't. Nope, he didn't miss the kick, which is extremely frustrating. But that's kind of how it goes, at the end of the day. Yeah, that's kind of how it goes, unfortunately. The Timberwolves, or the Vikings, pardon me. I'm looking at the basketball and thinking of the Timberwolves. It was, the Vikings still look definitely positive going forward into the next week versus the LA Rams, and I'm pretty confident going forward, to be quite fair. So that's why I have the Vikings winning 34-21. The Rams give up the most points and the most yards on the run. I can't believe what I'm watching. It is just embarrassing. Everything was looking so good, but of course it's Minnesota being Minnesota. Even the team that actually won titles in the past, they're Minnesotaing it, this thing. You can just feel it. Yep. Anyhow. Yeah, enough of that, right? Well, we're kind of used to it around here. Hopefully I'm wrong. Other than that, hopefully I'm right about the Vikings going into LA and getting the job done. And I think there's a pretty good chance. Not a very good team. Vikings bye is already done, so we're going to have football going all the way up into January from here on. So do enjoy Minnesota Vikings football, and I'll be here to do my best to keep up with the Vikings, and hopefully we'll have positive things to talk about and less of the negative at the end of the day. Well, again, just wish JJ McCarthy was available. That would be very exciting. Unfortunately, simply not the case. With that said, if you want to interact with the show via like your voice, all you got to do is basically record your call, or not call, but like an audio submission. Basically, press open the voice recording app that's on any smart device on the planet. Just press record, treat it like a phone call or just like you're talking into it, like a voicemail basically. And then when you're done, share it, save it and share it, or email it to paladinolive@yahoo.com. paladinolive@yahoo.com. I will then convert it into an MP3 file thanks to cloudconvert.com. I can't even make free throws. Cloudconvert.com. Sorry. And your audio will be on here with me on Purple Mafia, and you'll lead off the Fan and Direction segment, as Gerald has done many times. Mark Carlson. I miss hearing from Brett Jacobson and others. Love to hear from Dave Hickey again. Honest to God. Yep, and Mike Dale. I don't know where you were today. Hope everything's going all right. Hope I didn't irritate you. Maybe you were just too into the game, or were really busy with something else, which does happen. So, Mad Martin, really appreciate though. Thank you for interacting as much as you did. It has been you've been absolutely wonderful for a very long time for this show, and I can't tell you how much I thank you. And I do look forward to your call. Your calls are insanely good. So, hope all is going well. Mark Carlson, Mike Dale, missed you guys today. Tanae missed you today. So, really appreciate all of you. With that said, have yourselves a wonderful week, and just a couple days we'll be back to talk about the Vikings coming up. The release of the show will probably still be Sunday. Like, I might record Thursday night depending on what I'm feeling, but I don't know. It's going to be late, so probably not. I'll probably do all the show on Sunday just like it's a normal thing. It'll just be less time sensitive, I guess. At the end of the day, I could record the first segment earlier, but then treat the rest of it kind of the way I do on a normal Sunday, I suppose. Because kind of catching up and looking at the future opponent at the end of the day. So with that said, take care, God bless, and we will talk to you in a week.